The Syrian army and Kurdish-led Democratic Forces are accusing each other of violating the ceasefire. It follows outbreaks of fighting despite an agreement announced on Sunday. Syria's army is accusing the SDF of releasing a number of ISIL prisoners that had been held in al-Shaddadi prison in Hasakah province. Government saying there that 81 of the 120 escapees have been rearrested. Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa met with SDF chief Mazloum Abadi in Damascus on Monday, but there was no statement issued after the meeting. Al-Sharaa has also held a phone call with US President Donald Trump on the need for unity in Syria. Meanwhile, there have been protests in Kurdish-dominated areas of Iraq and Turkey. The SDF released a statement on Monday calling on Kurds in Syria, Turkey, Iraq, Iran and Europe to unite and join the ranks of the resistance. Demonstrators in the northern Iraqi city of Dohuk say that they're rallying in support of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. Protests also took place in the Turkish city of Diyarbakir, where scuffles as police tried to break up the rally. Zein Basravi is in Aleppo in northern Syria, but first let's speak to Ayman Oghanna, who is in the capital Damascus for us. First of all, Ayman, there was that meeting between Ahmed al-Sharaa and the SDF leader Mazloum Abadi. No statement was released. What are you hearing?
Yeah, so there was a meeting yesterday in Damascus between commander of the Kurdish-led SDF, Mazloum Abadi, and President Ahmed al-Sharaa. We've heard from multiple sources that the meeting lasted 5 consecutive hours, and after the meeting, Abdi returned to the northeast with neither side, neither the government nor the SDF, releasing an official statement. According to multiple sources, one of the major issues in the meeting was concerning the province of al-Hasakah. Now, al-Hasakah has a majority Kurdish city, an Arab tribal population in the countryside. Hasakah was mentioned in the previous US-brokered ceasefire deal, but there were some ambiguities and the administration was not quite resolved. Now, Abdi apparently asked for the city and the province to be under full SDF control. We've heard from sources again that President Ahmed al-Sharaa refused this and said that if it wasn't implemented under Ministry of Interior Forces, he would take it by force. Abdi then asked for a 5-day grace period to discuss the matter, which President Ahmed al-Sharaa refused. But then again, there has been no official statement. Following the meeting, though, on Telegram, the SDF released a statement calling on Kurds in Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and even Europe to join what it called the so-called resistance, unite and push back.
Let's get over to Zein in Aleppo now. There were some clashes yesterday between the SDF and the Syrian army. What's the latest, Zein, where you are?
Well, the optimism that we witnessed close to the front lines in Aleppo and Raqqa provinces over the last few days fades a little more with every hour, with every day that passes, with the violence that continues. Armed factions on both sides seem to be slipping into familiar grooves of discord and conflict over the last few hours. Overnight, we saw those clashes in Hasakah around the prison. The Syrian government and the army accusing the SDF of releasing detainees and prisoners in that prison. The SDF saying that they were overwhelmed by attacks on the prison, by clashes with government troops and their supporters, and lost control of the prison. The Ministry of Interior putting out a statement saying upon their entry into the Hasakah governorate, into al-Shaddadi, the specialized units immediately began conducting precise and organized search and sweep operations to retake the prisoners that had escaped. Overnight, we also saw ongoing clashes in different parts of the country, with some video that emerged that alleged to show the execution of women YPG members, Kurdish fighters with women units. That seems to have been confirmed by a statement from the SDC put out earlier this morning, saying the execution of fighters from the women's protection units after their capture, along with the release of ISIS militants, as they called them, constitutes a reproduction of terrorism, they say, and poses a direct threat to regional and international security. So both sides saying the things that have been said before, really reverting back to familiar language, familiar tactics on the ground, and familiar violence in places in Syria that it had hoped would return to civilian, peaceful areas.
Ayman, back in Damascus, of course, al-Sharaa spoke with President Trump too. What did that discussion center around?
Yes, so after the meeting with Abdi, the Syrian President's office released a statement saying that there was a phone call between President Ahmed al-Sharaa and President Donald Trump, in which they discussed the developments in Syria. And according to the President's office, President Trump reaffirmed his commitment to Syrian national unity and for combating terrorism. Now, of all the foreign powers, of all the foreign players, the US is in a unique position to end this crisis. It enjoys very close ties to both the SDF and to Damascus. In terms of the SDF, for more than a decade, they have equipped the SDF, they have trained the SDF, and they have fought alongside the SDF against ISIL. And the US still has 900 troops in SDF-controlled areas. But in the last year, we've seen a real strengthening of ties between the new government in Damascus and Washington. Only just over a year ago, President Ahmed al-Sharaa was still designated a terrorist by the US with a bounty on his head. But in the last year, we've seen a real change in that relationship. Last November, President Ahmed al-Sharaa was in Washington. He went to the White House where he was feted and praised by Trump. So the US enjoying both good relations with both sides. Before the ceasefire discussions, we spoke to Syrian Kurds in the northeast who said that they were worried about the US's growing ties to Damascus and had fears that the US may decide between fighting between the two which relationship is more important. So US role here really key in resolving this crisis.
Ayman and Zein, thank you so much. Ayman Oghanna and Zein Basravi there.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.